Hello everybody. I just wanted to show you some examples, or one example of sculpting in Blender on a Mac Mini, because I searched the internet. I don't find so many things for the Mac Mini, video-wise, or when it comes to specific features or specific tools. And so I wanted to try it. Spoiler alert, this is a Mac Mini with 8 gigabytes of RAM. And I imported an old sculpt I made basically from another computer, and I imported it into the Mac Mini in Blender. And here I'm just checking the mesh and checking the statistics, and as you can see, it's over 800,000 polygons, or vertices more, and it's over 800,000 polygons too. And I actually was very surprised, because I'm reminding you, this is a 8 gigabytes machine, and sculpting in 800,000 polygons is quite nice, but I'm also going to subdivide it a bit later on so that we can see how it performs with, I think, 3.2 million polygons. And for an 8 gigabyte machine, this is very impressive. Why did I test it? Because I'm planning on getting a new computer, and it's either a desktop PC or a Mac Mini with an M4 Pro chip. And I needed some kind of hardware test on the Mac Mini to get a baseline to see how it actually performs with Blender. And I was utterly stunned, because I always have to remind myself that this is 8 gigabytes and it works for sculpting and texturing. It works flawlessly. I mean, it's very silent. There's no fan or air flow or anything. It's very silent. It stays cool, and I can paint on this model fluidly with 800,000 polygons. Granted, that's not so much, but since I'm creating stuff for indie games and for smaller projects, this alone right now would be sufficient for a lot of things for me personally. But later on, I'm going to subdivide the mesh a bit more. And it's going to be 3.2 million polygons, I think. I also pushed it up to 6 million polygons previously when I was not recording. And then it became too sluggish to sculpt on it. So while you're in the area between 3 and 4 million polygons, I think this is still working well enough for an 8 gigabyte RAM machine. And this was very convincing for me, because the other advantages of the Mac are that it's very silent, very cool, doesn't draw a lot of power. And if I look at this, like to the left, you see the shading in Blender in the EV viewport, and it's flawless. I mean, it's the same shading that I had on a much stronger PC, and I can still rotate this thing here without any problems. I can sculpt on it, and the subdividing part took a bit of time to actually subdivide it. You can see it probably now. This is a very dense mesh already, visually, not dense in the sense that ZBrush can make meshes, but this is already a pretty dense mesh for what I usually do when I'm sculpting. So now I'm going to subdivide, and you see this will take a little while, not too long, but the machine has to think a bit before it's finishing it. I'm making here a little mistake, because it didn't subdivide it yet. But I'm going to subdivide it quickly. Just give me a sec. Okay. Now I'm subdividing it. And you know, when subdividing, each face gets split into 4 smaller faces. So basically you can just times 4 the number of polygons, and now we have here like over 3 million polygons. And I'm switching to sculpt mode. There you have it. It's the same mesh, but 3 million polygons now, as you can see in the statistics. And you can still pretty much sculpt on it. It's not a problem. So here I can add some smaller details to the mesh, and it still works, as you can see, very fluidly. I mean, this works on an 8 GB machine. So I'm not too much a fan of closed systems, but I have to give it to Apple that their closed systems, like game consoles, they are very, very efficient when it comes to RAM and scratch disk stuff, and so they can really drag more performance out of this little machine that you could probably do with a 8 GB desktop machine. That's a wild guess. It's not really, I cannot prove it currently because I don't have a PC anymore that has only 8 GB in my home. But yeah, it still works. It looks great, and you can change the lighting without a problem. You can change more lights and stuff. So this is really working pretty well. I'm impressed. Sculpting works, detailing works, but if you have to go up to more like 6 or 8 or 10 million polygons, then you probably need a little stronger machine than the M2 that's in this one. It's an M2 chip with 8 GB RAM, and when I'm planning on getting the M4 Pro with 24 GB of RAM, I should be safe. I was really also testing Substance Painter, and it worked well in Substance Painter with 4K textures, multiple layers, like 10 or 12 layers and things like that. Maybe I'm going to try to rig this model, because on my other machine I rigged this highly subdivided mesh at 6.5 million polygons with bones, and that worked flawlessly. Normally that's not what you do, but it was just a stress test to see how well this works at all, and I was stunned. I think if I can work with this kind of stuff at 8 GB, I probably will be able to do a lot more and much more complex things with a 24 GB thing and a much newer and faster CPU with a much newer and more sophisticated architecture. So yeah, that's me testing Blender on a Mac Mini with 8 GB, and I'm fairly impressed. If you look for a small computer that doesn't use a lot of power but has the strength to give you on-the-go modeling, because the machine is very portable, you can practically, it's a little bit, the new Macs are a little bit bigger than an Apple TV, and that's really a very small form factor. So you can basically go anywhere with that computer. It's not a laptop, it doesn't have a display, but switching offices, if you have access to a display or a monitor, then you shouldn't experience any problems with this. It's just working great. And for me, I never was one to really look for how much power things draw, but it becomes worse with energy. And I'm just thinking, if I can just have a machine that is very, very frugal with the power consumption, then why not go for it? And yeah, I was keeping this Blender thing open, and then I edited the screen recording in the background with iMovie and Shotcut, and Shotcut exported the 4K video of this in, I think, 2 minutes or something, and this was also very impressive. So this is all in all, for productivity issues and for productivity cases, I can really recommend considering buying a Mac Mini. I was surprised. You might be surprised. And yeah, it just works.